Chapter 7. Natalie wasn't Jean Noel's mother. Alice found herself blurting out to her best friend, Helena, Easter Day, over a cup of chamomile tea poured from a white porcelain teapot in the curious shape of a cat at a small but efficient bungalow on the Venice canals. She was his sister. All but having bitten her tongue after saying it, Alice was subsequently ashamed that she had let such an intimate and controversial detail regarding her fiancé's self-proclaimed checkered past escape her lips. The information was not only sensitive, it was indeed private, so private that in fact even Jean Noel himself seemed to have completely been unaware of it. And now Alice had freely spilled the beans, not only to a third party, but one who was also a consummate truth-teller, someone with a proven track record of not being entirely on board with the whole concept of keeping secrets. It was for that reason that Alice had never divulged to Helena that it was actually Nathalie Dubois and not the Ferrys who had miraculously recovered the wedding ring belonging to their mutual friend Gwen when she had found it stolen during her honeymoon in Mexico a couple of years ago. That was a story that defied believability to begin with, but Natalie had made it even worse by agreeing to give the ring back to Gwen only on the condition that her name be left out of it entirely, and sole credit for the ring's recovery being given to, of all people, the Ferrys. This, indeed, say, had not been taken small amount of inventiveness on Alice's part, knowing as she had that Gwen would have been sure to press her for details with more weight and substance than merely a helpful, if highly improbable, intervention of fairies. The dilemma had in turn forced Alice to ingeniously enlist the services of the barrel-chested monastic with the Gallic accent, who officiated at the meditation garden with the natural spring-fed lake, who, conveniently enough, had believed adamantly in fairies. Somehow, the transfer of property had taken place smoothly, and it all ended well. But to this day, Alice faithfully honored Nathalie Dubois' mischievous wish to remain anonymous and, out of both a sincere fondness and respect for self-effacing dentists, never revealed the key role she had played secretly in the reunion of Gwen with her wayward wedding ring. All these touching memories of Natalie, with her more often than not playful approach to life, therefore, stood out in stark contrast to the brittle and untoward persona she had taken on the years that led up to her passing, at least in matters where Alice was concerned. How, Alice wondered ruefully, had this sweet dentist, who had touted her benefits to be gained gazing into one's third eye, who had taught Jean Noel to read tarot from an early age, and who had sworn, by the counsel of her trusted palm reader, Madame Zena, on the Santa Monica Pier, also have managed to turn on Alice with such vengeance in the waning year of her life? Alice, of course, knew the answer all along, for it was simple. Natalie did not want Alice to marry her only son, Jean Noel. But what had prompted the dentist to feel that way so vehemently, Alice knew not. Only that whatever it was, let it be said, hurt her feelings deeply. "Did Jean Noel tell you that?" Helena asked pointedly when she had last responded to Alice's strange proclamation regarding his parentage. In the lengthy pause preceding her words, she had done her level best to digest the unappetizing piece of information. Racking her brain for a valiant attempt to come up with some plausible excuse for how this could possibly be true, she nevertheless come up empty. "No," Alice replied, most unhelpfully, Helena's increasing suspicious ear. "I strongly doubt he even knows it himself." "Well then, my dear," Helena stated conclusively, and not without a hint of superiority, "you must be mistaken." This, after all, would not be the first time. Over the years, Alice had been not only sorely mistaken, but dreadfully lacking in good judgment, at least from Helena's standpoint, on any occasion or occasions. With patient growing ever thinner, Helena vividly envisioned even more egregious examples of her good friend's foolish behavior. Helena recalled Alice having fallen madly in love, albeit unwittingly, with a married man and the inevitable drama that had ensued, the sickbed that Alice had taken to, and the endless cups of tea and bowls of soup that Helena had been forced to administer in an effort to revive Alice's spirits. Alice, having forgotten to spay a newly acquired semi-feral cat and the resultant litter of kittens, all of whom were in need of good homes, and one of which Helen had gone so far as to incorporate into her own family out of the goodness of her heart, even if it would seem Alice's hasty betrothal to Jean Noel, based as it was on some large extent on the belief of the infallibility of the green ray, fell, in Helena's inspiration, directly into his circumspect category. To be fair, the godmotherly interest Alice had taken in Helena's own small daughter, Blaise, in the aftermath of her ill-fated affair with the married man, had been met by Helena with cautious optimism. It had been, thanks to Alice's diligent efforts, after all, that Blaise had been introduced to, at an impressionable age, the art class of Dale Chihuly and the paintings of Vincent van Gogh, in the hope of instilling in the child a lifelong love of the French cinema. She had exposed her repeated viewings of The Red Balloon and to the wearing of bindis that were meant to acquaint her with the existence of her third eye and perchance remembrances of lives past. It would seem, however, that with the utterance of this new and startling claim by Alice, Helena's cautious optimism about her friend had been premature. Surely Jean Noel's departure for Big Sur that week, in search of his father's identity, which Helena had been told about, would be pointless if Alice's assertion were in fact true. But Jean Noel must surely have known what he was doing, Helena reasoned. I have proof, Alice then let it be known, and once again against her better judgment. I have a photograph that I found after he left. A photograph? Helena repeated as she awaited the friend's further elucidation. Of what? Of Nathalie, her mother, and a gigantic black dog in Big Sur dated 1974. Alice explained as calmly as possible, letting no note of triumph enter her voice. And? Helena prodded, still not grasping the significance of what Alice had felt the photograph so irrevocably implied. And Nathalie isn't pregnant, but her mother obviously is. Now, the subdued note of triumph that only moments ago had been suppressed crept unmistakably into her voice. But ever so slightly, as this was not an observation to gloat about. It was, rather, a critical discovery that could have much deeper implications and longer-lasting repercussions in the days to come. Sensing her friend's uncomfortable predicament, Helena could only ask heartfeltedly, as alas her sympathy had been awakened from the previous dormant state, "What will you do?" And Alice, while staring hard into the abyss of her now empty teacup, could only reply, "Who knows?"